Here in the summer residence of the Earl of Athlone and the Princess Alice, the representatives of King George VI in Canada, rooms had already been set apart for the President. A simply furnished bedroom, a comfortable and practical study. Here also was the informal conference room, the room in which the most important decisions were to be reached.
Today we're in the Governor General's official residence in Quebec City, which is located in the Citadel of Quebec, a great British fortress, which overlooks the St. Lawrence River and its estuary, right in front of the city of Quebec. And in the background you can see the famous Chateau Frontenac, British cannons, the bastion of the King. So this is as historic a site as you're ever going to get. This site will be used to host two major conferences between the Allies, between the British and the Americans, hosted by the Canadians. The first one called Quadrant in August of 1943, and the second one called Octagon in September of 1944.
He was met by the Prime Minister of Canada, Mr. Mackenzie King.
Churchill had come much earlier than Roosevelt. He had been in the city and had gone about and had been, at different receptions. And we have pictures of him being cheered by the crowds as he drives through the street. And he loved the limelight. He'd be standing up in the open car, and everybody is looking at him.
The President, accompanied by his personal staff, had arrived in Quebec and was on his way to the Citadel with Mr. Mackenzie King and Mr. Winston Churchill.
Mackenzie King, our Prime Minister, for him, this is an extraordinary moment to host this. He's not part and parcel to all of the things that are going on. He's more of a host. But in terms of public relations, this was top secret until they got here. But once they were here, this was all around the world.
The President and Mr. Churchill granted an interview to the press.
The newsreels, the National Film Board, the photos that were taken, this was a major, major moment for Canada and for Mackenzie King. And it's interesting, in the Citadel you have over 500 officers that are brought from all over the world, coming from North Africa, Mediterranean, from Washington, gathering here.
British, American, and Canadian troops have landed in Sicily.
1943, the tide now finally is turning against the Germans. They've been eliminated from the Middle East, from North Africa. The Allies are winning the invasion of Husky, which to take Sicily, where Canadian soldiers are involved, and now must make the decisions of what will come next. Do we go into France? When do we go into France? And the Americans want to go as soon as possible. For the British, however, Churchill, they want to stay in the Mediterranean. This will shore up, if you like, the lifeline to India to support the British Empire.
The day after his arrival, the President, together with Mr. Mackenzie King, the Earl of Athlone, Princess Alice, and Mr. Churchill, appeared for the newsreel cameramen on the terrace outside the Governor General's residence.
And so this is extraordinarily dramatic. And what will come out of this, for the first time, the Americans will take the upper hand in the planning of the strategy. Of course, they control all of the, most of the resources that are going into this. Churchill has always had a tremendous impact on Roosevelt. And at this meeting, finally, Roosevelt will side with his chiefs of staff. They are going to push for Overlord, and out of this conference, they will set the date, May the 1st, which will ultimately be changed to June, for the invasion of France. And also another major element that goes on in this, the Americans are developing the atomic bomb. The British know about this, but they're not fully briefed by the Americans. And here there'll be an agreement signed, initialed by Roosevelt and Churchill, that they will work together, the information will be passed, and the atomic bomb will be, will ultimately be created. And this is very important because a lot of the materials for that bomb, uranium, etc., are coming out of Canada. The Canadians will not be part and parcel of this, but they certainly are part and parcel of the achievement. It's not something that's necessarily well known either, I think, among the locals or Canadians per se, because it's such a long time ago. And again, it was a series of conferences that went on. Quebec City has had a lot of decorative elements added to it to add prestige to the town. I think it was in 1999, 2 busts were made, one of Churchill and one of Roosevelt, that were placed next to the main gates into the old city itself. It's just one of those vestiges of this extraordinary history, especially of World War II. It was a moment in world history when the tide turns.